All righty. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so excited. One, that you took time out of your day to spend a little bit of time with me. That means a whole lot. And I'm really excited to share this workshop with you. And primarily the thing that you're going to take away from the workshop, because it literally has the possibility to change your entire life. And that is not an exaggeration. If you know me, I am not the girl that hypes things up and then under delivers. So today's workshop is from overwhelmed to intentional. And it really is, I'm going to talk about the missing piece to creating a well-run home. And honestly, I probably could have titled this A Well-Run Life. Yeah, that's what we've got. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to share with you, and you'll discover why, oftentimes when it's related to homemaking, why routines, planners, the next greatest system or rhythm, whatever you want to call it, right? Those are not, those things alone aren't going to create the change that you're looking for, that really are going to be long term if in fact you don't take a look at this other piece that I'm going to put into the puzzle. I'm going to give you a simple framework. So it's nothing complicated. There's not some big long course. There's nothing like that, but it really has been a game changer. So my goal is to get you guys off of this call in 45 minutes. So if you have to jump off, no worries. I'm going to send the replay. It will all be available. You're able to watch it again if you want. It's all good. So hopefully, I don't know if you're a two-fisted drinker, but I've got my one drink and I just brewed, yes, you got a nice mug of my coffee with my bone broth hot chocolate in there. So I am set for the next 45 minutes. So I think I might have some new friends here. Oh, thank you, Vicky. What a sweet comment to get me started. I appreciate that. So I want to just kind of give a little bit of an introduction because I think I have some new friends that maybe have never been to one of my workshops, or maybe you're newer to following me. And so just kind of give you a little bit of background. I've been in the online space for almost 20 years. That seems crazy to me, but it is, I'm coming up on 18 years ago. I started a blog, and that's how I began to serve Christian moms in that space. And I've just been open to doing a lot of different things over the years. I was a parent coach, a family manager coach, wrote tons of blog posts, just have done a lot of things. And what I've always been really passionate about is the home, right? I really believe that our homes matter more than people really realize, and especially women, right? I mean, this is our space. And I feel like we've had a lot of voices from the outside coming in to say what we do in the home doesn't really matter. It's not that important. And it is the exact opposite. And I have been passionate about that for over 20 years. And so if you come to my little corner, that's what you're going to hear. And so I am here to encourage you. I'm here to give you an atta girl, because what you do every day matters. And oftentimes that's not what you're going to hear from outside, right? So I am a wife. I am a mom. We have four. Three are out of the nest, and one is still at home. He's 16 and a half, and he was actually adopted from foster care. So that's fun. I'm a yaya. So I actually am a yaya to four. We're still waiting to meet two. That one is due in August and one in October. So it's just a super fun season for me with that. And right now, my grandkids are staying at my house for a few days. So that's really fun. But I share that just to say I've walked through seasons of feeling overwhelmed, right? Stretched really thin, feeling like, oh, can I do this, tomorrow again? Because it seems like a lot of the things that we do are very repetitive, right? Honestly, wondering if I was doing enough. Is that something that you guys kind of feel like? I feel like, especially in this space of social media, I feel like years ago it was kind of more Pinterest, but I think people are still on Pinterest. But Very easy, right? All of the comparison and this person's doing that and I'm not doing enough and whatever that might look like and feel like, right? That those have the ability to really impact us kind of in the negative, right? There's a lot of good things in those spaces, but we have to be very aware, right? So over the years during the seasons, I've taught practical homemaking skills, things like routines and planning and organizing, and just keeping simple rhythms that really help your home run well. Not perfectly, right? There is no perfect home, but we want some kind of consistency that helps our families and ourselves have great expectations, right? That helps everything. So I still believe those things really matter, but over this past year, especially, I took a life coaching certification. And I knew of this concept before, but it wasn't until I had to really dive in deeper that I realized that through that and my own personal growth, I have a new dimension to the way that I think about homemaking and my life in general. And I think that's what you'll go away with today. In fact, I am almost positive that you will. So I realize that creating a well-run home isn't just about what we do, it's also about how we think about what we're doing. So it's how we respond and ultimately how we lead. And the realization hasn't replaced everything like I've taught for over 20 years. And I apologize. I have to move my notes up here. So maybe I'm not seeming like I'm looking down so often, but I have a tendency to go off in little rabbit holes, and I don't want to do that to you guys today. But so what I'm talking about today, it hasn't replaced what I have kind of have had as my foundational message over the last 20 years. It really has strengthened it and even given me like more of a target to be like, no, I am right in the space that I need to be. It's helped me be more intentional. And I think, right, if there is something that we could think about how our days run, getting to the end of the day and kind of realizing I was intentional, right, with my time, with my thoughts, with my actions, the way I responded, the way I engage with people. That's really, right? That's a great outcome. It's not necessarily how much you get done in a day, but it is. We want to be very aware of how we're able to respond and what we can be intentional on, right? So that to me has just been a game changer. So that's my hope today that you'll leave with not just another to-do list or a big long checklist. That is not my agenda here today, but you're going to have a fresh perspective, just renewed hope, and a greater understanding of the influence you already have as women that lead in your home, because you really do. So I emailed a reflection workshop before, I'm sorry, a handout with you with the workshop. So it looks like this. If you had time to print it out, wonderful. We're going to use it a little bit later. If not, no worries at all. Don't rush around and think you're going to miss out on something. You'll have that. And I'm also, for those going to be listening here to the replay, it will come with your replay as well. So you can just simply listen today and then you can complete it afterwards if that's more comfortable, whatever is good for you. So here, we're going in and I'm going to ask you something here. Have you ever ended the day completely exhausted, yet you still feel like you didn't accomplish anything? Any takers on that one? Because that's been me at different times, right? You end the day and you're like, what was that? What even happened today, right? It's like, oh my word. So these are this is the invisible work of homemaking, right? It's the mental load. Nobody talks about the mental load that happens, right? What we carry up here on the daily, right? Always thinking ahead and carrying responsibility, wondering again, right? Am I doing enough? Why do I feel like this? Maybe I'm not doing enough, right? And so because I have had that in so many seasons, you guys. In the season where I was married, in the season where I was a single mom, in the season where I was trying to blend a family, in the season, now trying to, walk this, what it looks like to parent a child that is adopted. It's like there's so many different pieces to the puzzles. And that doesn't mean my situation is worse or better or anything than yours, right? We all have those puzzle pieces, right? And so this workshop is going to isn't about telling you your routines don't matter because they absolutely do, right? If you have a rhythm and a routine, right, that helps you because it takes away the decision fatigue. If you have a planner, that is helpful, right? I believe in organization. I believe in simple systems and rhythms. And I've spent, like I said, tons of time kind of bringing that to fruition. But I've come to realize this thing. Creating a well run home begins long before you make a plan. It begins with becoming intentional, and becoming intentional begins, here's the key, you guys, it begins with the thoughts we practice every day. And don't worry, Susan's not going woo woo on you here, okay? So just hear me out because there's scriptural reference to this. You know, the scripture that refers to renewing our mind, right? And so my hope today is that you're going to begin to move from overwhelmed to intentional by taking a look at your thoughts. So for years, I believed my circumstances determined how I experienced my home. And I'm sure when I go through this, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that resonates with me. Some examples there, having a messy kitchen, the endless laundry that's always there, the busy schedules with no margin, kids arguing, blah, blah, blah. If that doesn't raise your blood pressure, right? Nothing will. Feeling unseen. I think that one's one that we try to push aside because there isn't space for us to really kind of open and unpack that, right? Believing things had to change before you could feel differently. And honestly, when I sit and think about how much time that I was in that space, feeling like I was a victim to my circumstances, ooh, it doesn't feel very good, right? And maybe that's you. All of those things that I just shared, really, you can relate and feel like, oh, that's where I'm at, Susan. And I just wish you were sitting on the other side and we were having a cup of coffee just like this, because you know what? I would want to hear all of those thoughts about those things that I just mentioned because they matter, right? And that I'm not saying we're going to push things aside at all, okay? But here's the thing. I realized I had
3, I
been
think.
giving,
3 to 5:30.
oh, hang on, I got somebody let me mute them. Okay, perfect, good. I realized that I'd been giving my circumstances all the power. Okay. So when in reality, I had far more influence than I ever imagined. Okay. So I'm going to say that again. I realized I'd been giving my circumstances all the power. Okay, this is going to be a huge aha for many of you listening today because when I heard it the first time, it was kind of like, huh? But when I really grabbed a hold, I could really understand that this is exactly what happens. So here's the thing, circumstances in my life, they're not going to always change, but I can change. I did. So that's what happened. And because I changed, the way I experienced my home began to change too. Okay. So that's the key. The circumstances didn't always change. Okay. Your husband may be without a job. Okay. You may not be able to change that circumstance, but how you think about it and how you show up and how you feel about it, you get to be in charge of that. Okay. And that's what we're going to dive into today because many of you are dealing with some really hard circumstances. Okay. And I'm not saying, again, like we're going to just Pollyanna and la that and be like, oh, that's okay. Just put a smile on. That's not what this is about. So hang with me. Okay. So, but here's where things changed when I realized, right, that I got to show up in my circumstances how I wanted to. I didn't need to be a victim of the circumstance. So, and that was the beginning of moving from overwhelmed to intentional because I got to have a choice. Okay. Who loves choices? I know when my grandkids are here, okay, I've got a 6-year old and an almost 2-year old. They are way more amenable when they have a choice in something. If I just give them a demand and say, go do this, right? They're gonna, yeah. But if I say, hey, can you do X or Y? They're gonna be like, oh, they have to like pick one, right? And so when we realize we have choices in situations, friends, so much easier to swallow, really, honestly. So. Vicky, your kids are out of for yeah, home for summer and your routine and your home are out of whack. I can totally understand, right? And but here, you get to have a choice. And I hope you when we finish today, you're gonna see like, oh, I get to have a choice in how I show up. So have you ever noticed that two women can have the same laundry, the same messy kitchen, the same busy schedule, yet one feels really defeated while the other feels capable. And sometimes we have to wonder why. Like I've seen that when I've coached moms that come to me. I mean, they've got very similar circumstances, but their outlook and how they're showing up completely different. Okay. And so this is where I'm going to introduce you to something called the creation cycle. You do not have to memorize that, but I will refer to this creation cycle. And that is what is here on this sheet, which we'll cover a little bit more. But so this has been the most valuable and pivotal tool to me personally in the last year. And I am so excited that I get to share it with you because I'm 59. If I would have learned about this 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I could have thought differently about so much in my life. And it's honestly, it's very empowering. So the creation cycle ends like this, or is like this. And I should be really professional and have like a whiteboard or something. And I don't, you guys. So you get the little drawing at the bottom, but basically, you've got your circumstance here which leads to you having thoughts about that circumstance. And I'll explain this in a few minutes, what this means. Thought, the thought about that circumstance then leads to a feeling. Okay. And then that feeling that you're having around the circumstance and the thoughts that you have around the circumstance leads to an action. Or it could lead to inaction, which is also an action. Okay. And then you get the result. Okay. So, what I've learned is that there is often something happening between our circumstances and how we experience them. And that is the game changer. So, yes, inaction is also action. That one was like a wake up call for me. So if you're a procrastinator, like I procrastinate on a lot of things, friends. That's action. So you're not taking action. That is also action. But here's the thing. Most of us have never been taught to notice, right? This process. And so this is going to be what is great. So here is an example. Here are the circumstance. That's the facts around your situation. So the facts around your laundry. Maybe I had a day like this, like it was last week. I didn't do laundry for several days. And if you follow me, you know I'm a one load a day gal because that's how I can keep up. And I missed several days and I had 6 loads of laundry to get caught up on. So you can bet I had some thoughts and feelings around that laundry, but that didn't paralyze me. Okay. So that's a circumstance, laundry, circumstance, messy kitchen, circumstance, your husband is working late, circumstance, child is having a meltdown. Maybe you burned the dinner, right? Those are all circumstances. Can you change the circumstance? No. Okay. So remember that circumstance, we're going to have thoughts around that circumstance. So this is a great way to think about, okay, this is a circumstance. The thought, what am I making it this mean? Okay. That's a great way to think. So if one of the circumstances was a pile huge of laundry, what are you making that mean? Usually our thought is going to tell us, right? We're thinking, I'm going to never catch up, right? This is too much laundry. I'll never get through this all. I'm going to be doing laundry for days. Those are all thoughts. Okay. Maybe it's no one appreciates me. I'm falling behind. I'm failing. Everything depends on me. I have too much responsibility. Again, those are all thoughts, right? Okay, those thoughts lead to feelings. So if you're thinking those thoughts, do you think your feelings are going to be positive or negative? That's not a trick question. So, in those situations, my experience and what I've been learning from other moms who also are in this season, right? Our feelings are going to be influenced by our thoughts and how we're feeling. So you're probably going to feel overwhelmed, discouraged, frustrated, resentful, anxious. Maybe you're going to get mad. All of these are feelings that are resulting from the thought we're having from our circumstance, right? So what were those? Those were all negative thoughts. Or I'm sorry, feelings. And I'll say this because I've also learned this. Feelings don't necessarily, we shouldn't really label them as positive or negative feelings because feelings are feelings. They are just all on the same line. It's not bad to have a negative or a feeling that we kind of associate with being negative, like sad or mad, or, I mean, but they're feelings. And oftentimes we've given, at least for me, I've given feelings the negative word attached to them. And so then I think, oh, I shouldn't be feeling that. Right. And so then we stuff it. That has not served me. And that's probably a whole nother workshop. So, anyway, but those feelings, right? That overwhelmed, discouraged, frustrated, resentful, anxious. Ooh. Okay. So, if you've got those feelings spiraling up here, how do you think you're going to take action? Because I don't know. For me, I respond in the way of maybe avoiding, or I'll rush, or I'll get snappy, or I might be a little more bitter and just be really short with people, or I withdraw, or I complain, or procrastinate, right? We talked about that. Inaction is action. We procrastinate. So so then you get the result, right? You get weepy and doom scroll. Oh my gosh, Vicky, thank you for sharing that because I also will be like, ooh, this is too much. Give me my phone and I can find some kind of relief or safety, right? That is so true. And I am working to shift that, right, by doing some of this creation cycle. And you can too. So hang with me. But thank you for being really honest because I know that there are other women that are here that can relate. So those are the results that we create. We are creating the result by taking a look at the circumstance, figuring out what we're thinking about it. What are our thoughts, which lead to the feeling, which lead to the action, which give us our results, right? And often those results, they just reinforce the original thought. So it's like a cycle. Why it's called the creation cycle. When we realize we are creating the results by how we're thinking and feeling and taking action around something, it's that to me was the aha moment. Okay. So you can either have a creation cycle where it's not creating your ideal result, or you can choose to have a creation cycle which creates the results that you truly desire. And that's what we're going to work on here. And what I have personally been working on, not just around my homemaking, but around my marriage, the way that I see my 16-year-old son, who is a little challenging right now and very frustrating, around my son and daughter-in-law that have chosen to move 4 hours from us when they lived 15 minutes, right? So many different circumstances of my life. I don't, I can't change. What I can change is the way I think about those circumstances. Because then how I'm showing up, how I'm going through that creation cycle, game changer. Okay, so let's talk about this. So here are some homemaking examples in particular, but I want you to know that might be where I'm focusing here to share this concept with you. But like I said, and I shared, this is game on for any area of your life. You have adult children, this will work for them. If your marriage is in a hard season, this will work for that. If you are unhappy with your job, this will work for that. Any circumstance that you have, you can apply the creation cycle to, and you will be able to change the outcome, the results that you see. Okay. So here's a homemaking example. So I love making sure that my kitchen is cleaned up after dinner. Does it happen every single night? 99.9%. But that is an example. So one woman, maybe after dinner, she's really tired, she just doesn't feel like she wants to put forth the effort. She's like, her thought is, I'm never going to get caught up, right? I do this multiple times a day or every night after dinner. The kitchen is a mess. There's nobody here to help me. I'm on my own, right? She feels discouraged. She walks away. The kitchen stays messy. And that's the cycle, right? That's what she's doing. She's creating the result by how she's choosing to think about that circumstance, okay? So the same circumstance of like, "Ugh, I'm so tired." Okay. Here's a second version from someone else. The second person could say, "Ugh, it's been a full day. I'm tired. I'm going to choose to have a feeling that my future self is going to thank me if I stick around and just tidy for 10 minutes, right? That brings a concept and feelings that I'm capable, right? So she begins, she makes progress, and she pauses because the kitchen really, it wasn't that different. The circumstance wasn't easier. The woman wasn't better because she chose, right, to stick with it. It was the thought that created a different experience. So remember, creating a well-run home begins long before you make a plan. It begins with becoming intentional, and becoming intentional begins with the thoughts that we practice every day. I would be curious, this wasn't in my notes, but it just came to me. If any of you practice any kind of journaling or, when you get up in the morning, where do you look to feed your mind with what you really want it to be full of for the day? And why I say this is because there were many years where, and I think this is more common now than it was even years ago, but we wake up and we get right into the action of the day unless we're intentional, right? And when you get into the action of the day and are met with your circumstances, your brain is going to have a little bit of a challenge engaging, right, thoughts that may be more helpful to your brain and then creating better feelings, right? So for me personally, I know that I am going to choose to get up earlier than my family. I want to look at scripture. I'm going to take a few minutes to journal and think of something that's great about my day. Because if I don't do that, this certainly is going to tell me how to think about my day, right? Or somebody else that I come in contact with. So that's just something to think about. How could you shift something so that the first thing that you experience when you wake up in the day is something you want to hear, right? That is positive, that whole renewing your mind is really critical. Um, and again, I just want to clarify, okay? So many women watching this recording, and I am not um, invalidating hard circumstances, okay? That's not what this is about. And I'm going to give you an example here in just a second. Because hard things, there are hard things. We were not told our life was going to be easy breezy, okay? I'll say that. And some seasons are, they will bring you down in a big way. However, it isn't, this creation cycle isn't just, like I said, being a Pollyanna, like being in this hard season, just putting a smile on your face and being all rosy, even though all of the stuff is happening, right? That's not what it is about. It's about recognizing that while we don't always have a choice in our circumstances, we do have influence over how we respond. And that influence is greater than many of us realize. And once you start practicing this, you'll get it. So I just want to give a really quick example where my friend Edie is who I went through life coaching certification from. And right now in her life, her husband has been given a diagnosis that is devastating for their family. And yet, they are walking through this, practicing this, which she has um, practiced in her life for a little over 10 years. Her circumstance is really hard, but she still gets to show up however she wants, right? She can acknowledge the difficult thoughts and those feelings that, are there and the actions that would come from that. Then she can choose to think something different. And that's what she's displaying right now in her life. It is a very hard diagnosis and what they're walking through. But she's like, but I still can show up every single day and find joy. Her famous saying is, I see miracles everywhere. And even in the midst of her walking through this with her husband, she sees miracles all the time. And if we are looking for those kind of things in our day, you will find them. Be a detective. It's amazing what you will find. I love this. I was saying this to somebody the other day, and I said, we're going to be Sherlock Holmes, right? Looking for evidence that life is beautiful, even in the midst of hard circumstances, because it really is. It's so, so powerful. So, yes, it did. Yes, Dr. Edie, I know you guys. Such a gift. Megan, this is so true. I've been out of the habit of waking early for Bible time. I tried again this morning. Later, we found out the delivery of our new fridge had been delayed, which had been, we've been without it all weekend. 6 kids. No, I can't imagine. Grateful for the Lord's mercy and help with my attitude, right? There is something that happens, right? You are not able to change the circumstance, right, of your fridge being delayed longer. Okay. But what are you going to choose to think about that, right? Which are going to lead to feelings, right? Which will lead to action and result. And so all of the time, we're going to be dealt with hard situations that come. And I'm still learning this, you guys. Please do not say Susan's the expert. I am not the expert. But once I saw that this is a tool that can be helpful, man, I want to shout it. I want to share it because it's that good. So yeah, it doesn't mean everything is going to be perfect by any means. Trisha, my husband and I try to practice sharing 3 good things that happened to us. See, this is exactly how you can change, right? Your thoughts about everything. It really is that whole thing. If you've ever done gratitude lists, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So okay, I love this. Thank you guys. Okay, so I've got 10 minutes here I wanted to finish up. So we're going to talk about this handout here. I'm just going to walk you through it really briefly so that when you are off the call, you can take some time and do this. And I would encourage you, save this PDF. You can print out as many as you need to, or you can print out one and maybe put it on the inside of a spiral binder or whatever. And then you can just use just regular paper to do these, what I call this thought download, and then doing your creation cycles. So, because awareness is where intentionality begins. So, you take a look at the workshop sheet if you have it. And what I love to do here in this top section where it says thought download is you can do this at any time of day, but if you have a few minutes in the morning, this is an amazing exercise for you to do in the morning because it's going to set your day up. Ooh, like so good, friends. So, you probably have heard the concept of brain dump before. That's what this thought download is. It's basically a brain dump. That's how I use it. I will sit there, and it took a while because Susan is not a journaler. That's what I used to tell myself, that I'm not a journaler. But guess what? Susan is a journaler now because I've been practicing, right? We're all beginners at some point in something. And so you can be a beginner too. And I just will start writing all of the thoughts in the morning that come to my mind. It could have to do with things that I need to accomplish today. It could have thoughts around maybe a disagreement I had with my husband the night before. Whatever is up here, get it out on this paper. Okay. And then what I like to do is kind of look through that and determine, is there something that really sticks out to me from that thought download? And then that's what I'm going to use to create a creation cycle, because I can almost guarantee if I pull out something that I've jotted down in that thought download and I start doing a creation cycle, and you'll see one side says false self and one side says true self. So the false self is the negative thoughts that I'm thinking about it, which are creating those feelings that are creating not the action and result I want. That's true. That's my false self operating. I want to operate in my true self, the one that wants to experience joy, right? That wants to see the goodness that's around me, right? So that's what that concept is. And I will pick out a thought and I will start writing the thought there about the whatever the thought is I had in the thought download, and I will start writing, what are my thoughts about that? Maybe let's just say maybe I had a disagreement with my husband. Ugh, he always thinks he's right. That's a thought, right? There's could be other thoughts, around that. Then what are the feelings that that brings up for me? I get angry because he always thinks he's right or whatever. And then what are my actions? Okay. Maybe I want to ignore him all day. Maybe, whatever. I don't want to give you guys too many ideas of what I could think about if I have a disagreement with my husband. I'm sure you all could fill in your own very well. But and then what are the results that I'm going to get from that? If I take actions where I'm going to ignore my husband because I'm mad, I have thoughts and feelings, right? The action, that's my false self. I'm not going to show up in the best version of myself. Am I going to find joy in that? No, that breaks that, right? And so then this is where the work happens. This is where the transformation, this is where the being intentional part happens, is I get to choose a different thought around how I'm thinking about my husband and the disagreement. Okay. I'm going to go back and think, you know what? My husband is kind and generous, which is going to lead to me having certain feelings, which is going to lead me to choose a different action, right? Maybe then my action will be, I want to resolve this, or I'm going to put it to the side until we can talk about it later. And then, I can make a better decision, and then I'm going to have a better result. So, same kind of thing with your situations in your home, right? So, um, because um, we have to ask ourselves, what are you creating in your marriage, in your home? Okay, I kind of went off and talked about marriage, but let's talk about our home, right? Um, What are you creating? Not what are you getting done, but what atmosphere are you creating? How are you experiencing your home? Who are you becoming? And then you can ask yourself, if you wanted to become just a little more intentional, what's one thought you could begin to practice this week that would be different? Okay. If you have a thought like, I'm never going to catch up here, and that's the thought you automatically think every morning, do you think you're ever going to catch up, or will you feel like you caught up? No. So changing that thought to something different. How about there's a lot to do here, but I'm resilient? Does that feel differently? I have found changing my thought has been profound. So as we finish, I just want to leave you with this thought of understanding the creation cycle and how powerful it is, because understanding it once, okay, you understood it. Maybe you're still like, oh, Susan, this is a little fuzzy. I would encourage you, you could re-listen. You could just start doing it. Start downloading some thoughts and doing some of these creation cycles at the bottom, because we all start as a beginner, right? And we all grow from practice. Okay. You can think about it the same way with your homemaking skills. Can you think of the first time you made a dinner when you were younger? It probably didn't turn out exactly like you wanted it to either, right? We're all beginners. So living it matters, right? Because here's the thing. Your laundry is still going to be there, but you get to choose how you think about it. Okay. Life's still going to be full. Old patterns of thought are going to sneak in there. They do for me every time. And it really matters. But when we have a exercise that we can do to try to rewire our brain, it's amazing. And I will share that one of the things that I introduced the creation cycle in April to the Confident Homemakers Collective. And we've been talking about it every single month in different areas of our life and how we can change. And it's been so phenomenal, because oftentimes when you're trying to introduce new habits, right, or new behaviors or a new concept like this, sometimes we end up needing a little more community to make it stick, right? And that's what I really had a heart to create the Confident Homemaker Collective, because it wasn't like you just needed another course. You don't need another course. I'm telling you, you don't, right? You don't need another planner. You don't need another more pressure to be perfect. But I believe that homemakers were not meant to do this alone. And if I think about back to my mom, when I was growing up, and that was kind of a while ago, you guys, um, women more often were at home during the day. They got together on their own in community. Kids played in neighborhoods way more than they do now. There's a lot that has shifted, right? Would you agree with me? There's just a lot that's different, especially in the last 40 years. And we need to find community. That is where women, especially, grow and excel. And so, inside the collective, it has just been so fun for me to see it come to fruition, because this is the stuff we talk about every day. And people come in with questions, right? We learn practical homemaking skills that maybe you learned, maybe you didn't. I love that our community, actually, there's a good bunch of women that are my age or older, and they are there pouring in to younger ones, and they're still learning too. It has just been so touching. But we talk about simple routines, we ask questions, we celebrate the progress. Because who do you have in your life that's going to give you an atta girl when you clean your whole bathroom and your toilet is sparkling? Who do you tell that to? Nobody. But we get it. We will get it. So, and we just remind each other that it's not perfection that's the goal. It really is being intentional and showing up in the way that we truly desire and how we think about our role in the home really impacts us. So I had asked the ladies the other day if they would share with me some things because I thought it would be really helpful for me to share. So I asked this question: what has been most valuable for you as being part of the collective? And here are some answers. I'm going to have to blow them up. Um, One gal said, I would say the most valuable part for me has been mindset shifts. That's exactly what we're talking about here, guys. That come from your teachings and reading the encouragement from other members. I love the idea of printables. I have a printable packet that goes along with the topic that we're covering each month. But as a procrastinator, I usually print them, but I don't follow through. I'm working on that though. See, there's a space. You can admit that maybe you want to get better, and somebody's going to help you with a suggestion if you want. Here's another one. I love everything about it. I enjoy being able to go to the app whenever I feel like I need inspiration, encouragement, something to brighten my day. The collective makes me feel valued as a stay-at-home mom. And I'll just say right now, this isn't just for stay-at-home moms. This is for those of you who work outside of the home too, because your role as a homemaker is exactly the same. Okay. You may have a little bit more that you're juggling, right? And then the last one here I'll read is all of it. I love all of it. For me, the encouragement, community, accountability, and practical homemaking skills are the top four. I love the monthly teachings as well, but I don't always get to watch them. So just know there is a space that's off of social media. And I think that's the one piece that really is powerful because I've gotten a lot of people that respond to my weekly email saying, "Hey, I miss seeing you on Instagram because I got rid of social media, but I love getting your email." And now there's this space that's not on social media that you still can connect with other women that are doing the thing that you're doing and they don't want all that other noise. So it has been beautiful. So, one of the things I love to point out, and I know for me this has been pivotal too, is we moms, we love to invest in our kids. We invest in different education for our work. We invest in our careers. We invest in things for our home, which those are all good. But how often do we intentionally invest in ourselves as we lead our homes? Because that is truly a calling. It is a role, and it is worth investing in. Because when you grow as a homemaker, your family benefits, your marriage benefits, and if you have a safe space, right, like that, to be able to have conversations, to ask questions, to put a prayer request in. We have a thread that's all about, you can put a prayer request and people will comment and they're praying for you. It is so wonderful. But your home benefits, but most importantly, I would say the women that have shown up in this space, they are the ones that reap the most benefit. So they may not be able to change their circumstance, but being in the collective helps change their thoughts, their feelings, their actions, and their results. So it's just been great. So if that's not something that you have ever heard of, that I even offered this collective, we've been going for over a year and it's been amazing. But this is a space that is open for you to join if you'd like. There'll be a link that comes in the replay email, but it is a beautiful place to kind of take the next step and just be connected and work on things intentionally that you want to practice. So as we wrap up here, I just want to say that you took the time to show up for you today. And I wanted to say thank you. Like I said at the beginning, you took time out of your day. All of our days are full of lots of things, and you chose to show up here. And I really appreciate that. But here's what I hope you take with you right now is that tomorrow morning, the laundry's still going to be there. The kids are still making messes. There's going to be dishes that are waiting in your sink. Your schedule may be still full or overflow. You're lacking the margin that you really want in this season. But my prayer is that you are going to be able to show up differently. Okay. That you notice the thoughts that you're having around your circumstance and that you choose to lead your home with greater intention because there is possibility in that. And again, I'll just close with this because I've said it. This will be the third time because I feel like this is the key that creating a well-run home begins long before you make a plan. You can have a great planner, and I have one, but if your thoughts around your circumstance are not in the space that's going to be really beneficial for you and your family, it doesn't matter, right? So creating that well-run home begins long before we make a plan. It begins when we become intentional, and becoming intentional begins with the thoughts we practice every day. So here's this one small step that you can take from being overwhelmed to being intentional. One thought, one choice, just one intentional step at a time. And I will tell you, it will add up. And it's kind of like you're depositing into a bank account, and you will start reaping the rewards the more you practice. And it's like weight training, just this muscle. So oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, I look so beautiful today. Well, I'll take that one. So, Sarah, I keep a gratitude journal when I write down 5 things a day. Yes, that changes your mind. That is renewing your mind. Perfect. If anybody is still here and they have a question, feel free to either unmute yourself or pop it into the comment, and I'm happy to answer. I was a little over 45 minutes, but all right. Looks like I've got no questions. All right, you guys, thank you again so much for coming. And again, if you want to watch the replay, I'm going to be sending the recording. If you missed the handout, there'll be the link to download that as well. So, all right, you guys, go have a great day. And I would love to know if you come up with a new thought that you're going to think about your day today. Message me, either email me or message me on Instagram or Facebook. I would love to hear it. So, all right, take care, friends.